When you think about Russia's power, what comes to mind? Pipelines, railways? Well, Moscow's looking at something else entirely. It's rivers. We're talking about this huge plan to turn ancient waterways into the new arteries of trade for all of Eurasia.
You know, this is about way more than just moving cargo. A ship on some Siberian river? Sure, it's carrying oil, it's carrying lumber. But it's also carrying something far, far more valuable: leverage. And that one word, that's the whole strategy right there. It's as much about power as it is about profit.
So why this sudden shift? Why look to the rivers now? Well, it's because Russia's big economic pivot to the east has hit a very solid brick wall. And that wall is its own failing infrastructure.
I mean, the numbers here are just staggering. Trade between Russia and China just hit a record-breaking $245 billion. Think about it. Moscow desperately needs Chinese goods to fill the gap left by Western sanctions. And at the same time, Beijing is just snapping up all the Russian oil, gas, and metals it can get.
Okay, but all that booming trade has created a logistical nightmare. It's a classic bottleneck. On one hand, you've got this incredible surge in demand, but on the other, Russia's infrastructure is just overwhelmed. We're talking about road and rail networks that were built for a totally different world, a different political map. They just weren't designed for this kind of pressure.
So let's get specific. Where are the choke points? Well, you've got the famous Trans-Siberian Railway and the Baikal-Amur main line, and both are seriously struggling. And out in Russia's far east, places like the Kuznetsev's tunnel and the rail line between Chita and Khabarovsk, they're creating these massive freight traffic jams. It's putting a hard cap on any future growth.
Okay, so the railways are creaking under the strain. What's the solution? Moscow is looking back to its oldest transportation network of all, its rivers. This is where the idea of a river lifeline comes in.
The official name for this is the Riverine Strategy. And the idea is pretty bold. Take over 100,000 kilometers of rivers that you can already sail on and turn them into major trade highways. The goal is simple, really. Get the cargo off the overloaded trains and onto the water. You're basically turning a map feature into a strategic economic weapon.
And you better believe they're putting serious money where their mouth is. The Kremlin is planning to pour $6.2 billion into this over the next 6 years. A big chunk of that is going into subsidies to build brand new, massive ships. We're talking supertankers and LNG carriers.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about moving stuff around inside Russia. The grand plan is to connect these rivers to a truly game-changing new global shipping route, what they're calling the Arctic Silk Road.
So how is this all supposed to work? Let's walk through it. Step 1, goods come into Russia from places like China and Kazakhstan. Step 2, they start traveling north, way up into Siberia on this huge river system called the Oby-Irtysh Basin. Then, Step 3, everything gets collected and sorted at these new superhubs in key cities. And the final step, they sail out to the rest of the world using the Northern Sea Route, which, as you know, is becoming more and more ice-free.
And listen, this isn't just some fantasy drawn on a map. There's real momentum here. President Putin himself laid out the policy at the Arctic Forum. They're planning to have 6 of these new logistics hubs up and running by 2027. And when you factor in climate change, scientists are projecting the Arctic could be navigable all year round by the 2030s. This could absolutely become a full-time legitimate shipping route.
So which cities are going to be the new hubs, the nerve centers of this whole operation? Well, keep your eyes on Omsk and Novosibirsk. They're 2 of the biggest cities in Siberia, and their location is just perfect. Why? Because they sit right on the Trans-Siberian Railway, and they have a direct on-ramp to that crucial Oby-Irtysh river system. It's the perfect link between rail and river.
Okay, but a plan this big, this ambitious, it's never that simple, right? It's bound to make some waves. So let's dive into the powerful currents of conflict that could seriously slow down or maybe even sink this entire project.
The biggest political headache boils down to one single river, the Irtysh. For Russia's plan, it's essential. But here's the problem. It's not just their river. For China, the Irtysh's water is critical for developing its Xinjiang region. For Kazakhstan, it's literally a national lifeline. It provides water to almost a third of the entire country. So you have this fundamental conflict. Russia sees a trade highway, but its neighbors see a resource they absolutely cannot survive without.
And the Irtysh isn't a one-off problem. You've got similar tensions simmering over on the Amur River, which borders China. People are worried about construction, water quality, flooding. But on this one, Moscow is being conspicuously quiet. Why? Because they're putting that all-important economic partnership with Beijing first.
So, when you take a step back, what does this all mean?
It's really a powerful reminder of that old saying, geography is destiny. But in this case, it's about one nation's massive attempt to rewrite its own destiny.
Because let's be clear, once you strip away all the talk about logistics and billions of dollars, this was never just about moving goods. This is about rerouting the entire flow of power across Eurasia.
So, at the end of the day, Russia is making a massive bet. It's betting its whole economic future on its rivers. It's hoping they can be a shortcut around sanctions and around its own failing infrastructure. But the big question, the one that hangs over all of this, is pretty simple. Can these ancient rivers actually carry the immense weight of that ambition?